Hi, everyone. Welcome to this new episode of our Student Spotlight series, where we are able to showcase some of the work our students have done. I'm Charlotte. I'm one of the outreach coordinators here at CCIR, and it's our pleasure today to have Eden with us, who did one of our Future Scholars Program courses. So firstly, Eden, can you introduce yourself? So tell us where you're from, what year you are in school, and then which course you did.
Hi, my name is Eden Ng. I'm from San Jose, California, and I'm 15 years old. I'm a rising junior at Piedmont Hills High School, and in the Future Scholar program, I did the Advanced Cell and Developmental Biology course.
And then what made you seek out CCIR in this course in particular?
I was attracted to this course because of the chance to research under the mentorship of university professors like Dr. Yajima and PhD students like Mr. Kwong, and also be able to be in a group of classmates who have the same interests as I do and learn on the same level as them. I was also interested to learn more about developmental biology, of how a single cell can develop and form a functional organism, because that's kind of a subject that I haven't had experience with yet, and it's a more in-depth aspect of biology.
And then can you give us a general overview of what the course was about, or a few topics that you guys went into?
Yeah, so Advanced Cell and Developmental Biology with Dr. Hajima and Mr. Kwong was about the development and behavior of the cell from early stages to later stages of an organism. And some of the main things that we learned was the development and characteristics of cancer and its treatments, cell communications through gap junctions and the cell cycle, and the manipulation of it to cause cancer, as well as genetics and epigenetics, and how environmental factors can affect epigenetics through DNA methylation, and the process of fertilization and parts of the embryo and what they develop into, as well as cell specialization and differentiation. We also learn how to read and digest literature, and later present and write our own research on that knowledge.
Great. And then can you tell us what your personal research paper was about, what the title was, and a general overview?
Yeah. So my paper was called Immunotherapy for Cancer, Creating Ideal Conditions for T-cell Differentiation. The reason why I wanted to write this paper was because during my interview for CCIR, my interviewer asked me a bunch of technical questions about this topic of developmental or cell biology. And one of the concepts that she asked me about that I was unfamiliar with was stem cells and its differentiation. So I wanted to take this course to learn more about it, and under the mentorship of Dr. Yajima and Mr. Kwong, to kind of explore more about that concept. And because our class decided on an overarching theme of cancer treatment for all of our papers, I wanted to connect those two ideas and form my research paper, which is how I can use T-cell differentiation to improve the immune response of your body to combat cancer through modifying factors such as the microenvironment, self-reactivity, and limiting transcription factors to induce T-cell differentiation.
And then for someone that might not know, can you explain to them what T-cell differentiation is?
Yeah, so in your body, you have stem cells that are created in your bone marrow, and those stem cells can differentiate into specialized cells, such as brain cells, which are neurons, or heart cells, or immune system cells like T cells. And so different factors, like I mentioned before, like the microenvironment, transcription factors, or interleukins or cytokines, can induce the differentiation of those stem cells into T cells. And those T cells will be able to improve the immune response of the body and also activate it.
And then can you explain what your research methods were and kind of your research process? So did you collect your own data? Did you use an open data source?
Yeah, of course. Because my teacher, Dr. Yajima, her past students haven't really gone on this topic before, she and I worked together to find some resources online, such as research papers, and we were able to collect all of those research papers and form my own hypothesis and conclusions from those, and be able to use that information and write my own research paper using my understanding and analysis of those papers.
Okay, so you did like a systematic review type of paper.
Yeah.
Cool. And then did you have any maybe findings, or do you want to talk us through your findings?
Yeah, for sure. So before researching about T-cell differentiation, I was unaware of the many factors that influence T-cell differentiation or cell differentiation in general. And also because CAR T-cell therapy, which is the kind of therapy that people use using T-cells to combat cancer, because it's a relatively new treatment for cancer, there's not much research performed on it. So being able to research more about that topic was really interesting because I was able to formulate new conclusions. And I also found some facts while talking to my mentors that I found really interesting about cancer treatment in general, which is that because cancer is such a difficult disease to treat, combination therapy is becoming more popular because it's more likely that cancer cells won't be able to develop resistance to all kinds of the treatments in combination. So CAR T-cell therapy is becoming part of those combinations in combination to chemotherapy or radiation and things like that.
And then can you tell us the importance of your findings for this field or for the general public?
Yeah, so like I said before, the CAR T-cell therapy is relatively new and there's not much information about it. So, and also like cell differentiation, there's so many factors that influence it. So my paper is focusing on creating ideal environments for cell differentiation so that those cells can be used for CAR T-cell therapy. So the audience that I'm kind of bringing my research to is like doctors or researchers that are interested in improving the effectiveness of CAR T-cell therapy for patients that are combating cancer.
Now we're going to shift to discuss your experience, just your general experience with CCIR. So firstly, can you tell us what your experience was in the program and doing a high-level research project like this as a high school student?
Yeah, of course. So I thought it was a really good experience doing high-level research under the mentorship of a renowned university professor such as Dr. Ujima, which she teaches at Brown, and a PhD student, Mr. Kwong, who's from Oxford. And those are really, really big schools. So when I first heard that, I was kind of like intimidated almost, but they turned out to be really helpful mentors, and they were really welcoming to all of their students. And it was really helpful in comparison to doing research on my own, which I kind of experienced before because they were there walking us through the process. And we were able to ask them like spur of the moment interests and whatever we wanted to learn about. And they were able to give us really advanced and in-depth explanations and teach us through it, through diagrams and through text and everything like that. And it was also really interesting because their teaching styles were so different, where Dr. Ujima would teach us more about the literature aspect of science and kind of reading research papers and digesting it and presenting our own research. And Mr. Kwong would more like teach us new findings in developmental and cell biology. And every weekend that we would meet with them, I would still find myself thinking about those findings that he would talk to us about and researching more about it. And it really got me more interested in science as a whole. And also, I really enjoyed having smaller classes because I was able to interact one-on-one with my mentors, but I was still able to collaborate with each of my classmates on discussing topics and being able to exchange ideas.
Great. And then how did this research process and writing the paper compare to papers or projects or courses that you've taken in the past?
Yeah, so I think this course was kind of a combination of all of the courses I've taken in the past. Like this summer, it kind of overlapped with the Cambridge course, but I took a human biology course at a college, and some of the topics that we discussed in that class was the same as in this Cambridge course, as well as last school year, I competed in UCIBO, which is a U.S. National Biology Competition, where I was awarded the honorable mention for UCIBO Open. And some of those topics that I covered and was studying for, I also encountered in this Cambridge course. And last summer, I did a research program at UCI's GATI, and we were able to write our own research paper. But it was less under the mentorship of a mentor than like in Cambridge. So I really enjoyed that process at Cambridge, and we were able to publish it in that program as well.
Great. And then for those listening, if you're unaware, the Future Scholars Program is our group course. We do cap each course at 5 students. So I just want to ask you what your experience was working with other students, with the other students in your course.
Yeah, so I really liked working with the other students, like I said before, because we had a smaller class, like you said, and we were able to work together and exchange ideas. And something that I found really cool was one of my classmates was like across the world. And even though we were so far apart from each other, we still were able to connect over the interest of science. And we were able to talk to each other every week and be able to collaborate with one another. And one of the interesting things that our mentor mentioned was that when publishing papers, we're able to collaborate with one another and combine our papers to cover an even larger topic. And that classmate that's from around the world, I'm thinking of combining our papers together to overcome that bigger topic. So, and also even though all of our topics were very different from each other, we were able to listen to each other present those topics, and I was able to cover an even bigger field of developmental biology by listening to all of those different topics. So I really enjoyed that.
Nice. And then just a few more questions. So again, we really like to emphasize the aspect of mentorship in our programs as opposed to the kind of the traditional teacher style where our mentors don't just transfer information onto you, but really guide you through your own discoveries and learning process. Can you tell us about your experience with your mentor and your TA as well, as you moved through kind of the first more traditional teaching half of the course into the latter research-oriented half of the course?
Yeah, so the first half was more literature-based, and we learned to read and digest research papers. And most people would assume that research papers are really easy to read and it's an easy skill, but it's really not, because those research papers are written by advanced researchers, and the language and terms that are used in those papers are so advanced that it's hard for people without that experience to read and understand. So people like Dr. Yojima and Mr. Kwong, they have so much experience reading those papers that in the matter of a few minutes, they're able to just completely understand all of that information, which is something that they were able to teach us to do. And I think that was a really important skill, especially later on, because those research papers hold so much information, but most people aren't able to get a hold of that information because they don't understand it. But now, because of that course, we're able to. And another part of the first half was that we were able to present our own research. And Dr. Yojima taught us that when presenting, we're not supposed to just say facts on facts on facts, but rather tell a story. And from the purpose of the research paper to the methods to the results and then the conclusions, we're supposed to be able to tell the story of how that research paper came to be and its results. And that just makes it a lot easier for the audience to understand and also become engaged with it, which is something that we incorporated in our own research papers. And also, the second half, we learned more about writing our own papers and underwent the research process of collecting materials and data to form our own hypothesis and conclusions and connect it to real world applications like our mentors walked us through.
Great. And then do you think this course has given you any insights into your future? Do you think it's informed or maybe shaped how you think of your path moving forward in terms of maybe what you want to study in uni or your career?
Yeah, definitely. I think having the presence of my mentors and seeing their apparent knowledge and just them spending their spare time to teach all of us makes it feel like something that I want to do in the future as well for other high school students, to just get them more incorporated in the science field. And also, although that for a few years now, I've been wanting to become a physician because I've seen what they've been able to do for my family in times of need. I've been able to shadow and volunteer at clinics and emergency rooms to get a better grasp of that. but having research is a really important aspect of science. And before doing this course, I didn't really consider that. But now that doing this course, I've been able to kind of get a glimpse into that world. I want to also pursue research in the future as well.
Great. And then the last question, what would you say to someone who asked you what the value of doing a project or a program like this is, especially for a high school student?
Yeah, so I would say I would definitely recommend this course because although it was kind of hard to get in, I believe that this program is extremely helpful for high school students to allow them to get a scope of the research world and also be able to become more knowledgeable in that aspect. And they can also learn under the mentorship of professors and PhD students, which have gone through that path and experienced it all. And you're able to ask questions about how they got there and why they did it, and really be able to learn more about the entire field of science. And not only be able to learn that knowledge, but also be able to apply it to write our own papers and present our findings, which is something I've never done before this course. I've never been able to present my findings like that. And now that I'm able to, I can think about going to conferences using the knowledge that I learned in this course. And I also think that what we've learned in this course is incredibly beyond the scope of what we learned at school because of the in-depth material and advanced topics, which is why I hope other high school students are also able to experience this program like I have.
I think that's great advice. So thank you so much, Eden, for chatting with me, and congratulations again on your nomination to our Spotlight series.
Thank you so much.